Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another virtual civics class. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about political machines. And my first question is, what do you remember about interest groups? What's the difference between a political party and an interest group? Think about that for just a minute, and we'll talk about that. So today, we will define what a political machine is, so we can describe how democracy can be perverted to achieve disastrous results. So you do have to be aware that this is not a perfect system. Okay, just because we have democracy, popular sovereignty, the will of the people, that doesn't mean that we don't have problems. In fact, some of the problems that we have, because of the form of government that we use, we do not have solutions to yet. So there's a famous quote that says, democracy is the worst form of government until you consider all the other forms, meaning that it's just the best that we have right now. It doesn't solve every problem. So our essential question, how do citizens both individually and collectively influence government policy? And we're examining the impact of, in this case, individuals on monitoring and influencing government. So let's just breeze through this. We've got a two-party system, the Democrats and the Republicans. Our political spectrum is represented in terms of right and left, conservative and liberal. We also have many other smaller parties called third parties, and they also compete for power, but they end up really just affecting the platforms of the two major parties by promoting new ideas. And then we have interest groups that form around a common cause, and they hire these professionals called lobbyists to push their agenda. The lobbyists go to Congress and to politicians, and they offer them campaign contributions, donations. This is because a single voter's influence is really very small, but the First Amendment protects your right to join or form not only any political party, but also an interest group, because politics is a team sport. So we've got this political spectrum, the right and the left, the Republicans on the right, the Democrats on the left, and then we've got these third parties. And then it gets a little more complicated, right? We've got also these interest groups. In this case, the example is this, let's see if I can get this. It's not easy to annotate here. The oil industry, the oil and gas industry. And they operate by essentially giving money to both sides. They're going to give money to the Democrats. They're going to give money to the Republicans. So no matter who you vote for, let's say you're an independent, let's say you're a moderate person, whether you are convinced to vote one way or the other, the person that you are electing is going to be beholden to the oil and gas industry because they fund both sides. Some people call it corruption with extra steps. I'll leave it up to you what you want to believe. All right, so we know that political parties really are concerned with one thing, winning elections and maintaining power. That means that at every layer of a political party, their activity revolves around collecting money, donations, campaign contributions from individuals, corporations, and interest groups, and then turning that money into votes, into support. That means having the right platform. That means having a politician who knows how to speak and say the right thing and be charming and be popular, which is not so easy, and avoid saying the wrong thing and avoid looking stupid and avoid topics that would make them seem unpopular or the wrong candidate. So the difference then between, we can answer that first question, the difference between a political party and an interest group is that an interest group does not seek political power. An interest group, whether it's the oil and gas industry or casino or the NAACP or the Sierra Club, they're not putting a candidate up to actually govern, to try to win an election. They stay out of that. All they're doing is taking that money, that campaign contribution, and dangling it in front of the major competing parties. So political party seeking political power, trying to win elections and put candidates in office. Interest groups just dangling money to get what they want. So our republic, representative democracy, succeeds or fails based on our elections. And there are four hallmarks or four categories that are important for a good election. A good election has to have certain qualities. Those qualities are, it has to be free, fair, competitive, and regular. Let's break it down one by one. A free election means that citizens are free to run for public office, that citizens aren't being denied the right to vote, and that citizens have the right to form political parties and create platforms and do all the things that citizens that we take for granted, right? So freedom of speech, that you have freedom of the press, so you can learn about what's going on, you can learn about the issues, you can speak freely, you can engage in political activities, you can run for office if you want, you can form a new political party, you can form an interest group. So all those things contribute to having free elections. Seems so basic, but there are many places in the world where you are not allowed to engage in politics. You don't get to run for public office. All right. So for example, in China, you have to belong to the Chinese Communist Party if you want to have anything to do with politics. So you're not allowed to form a new political party. You're not allowed to express an opinion that differs from the communist ideology. You're just not allowed to. You'll get in trouble. You can be locked up. They have political prisoners there who have spoken out and they get locked up for the rest of their life. Same thing in North Korea, same thing in Russia. You can't run for office against Vladimir Putin. So free elections means that people are allowed to participate in those basic ways. Next, an election has to be fair. What do we mean by that? It means that every citizen gets one vote and all the votes are equal, and that all the votes are counted, that the votes should be anonymous, meaning you can't tell who someone voted for, right? Because if you know who people are voting for, then there could be pressure or there could be retribution that you voted for the wrong person, so we're going to attack you or your business or your family. So it has to be a secret or anonymous vote. A fair election means that no one is able to stuff the ballot box, that they can't just put a whole bunch of fake votes in the ballot box. It also means that you prevent, as much as you can, gerrymandering, which would be giving one party an unfair advantage by districting voters, cramming voters into one district by the way that you draw the lines on the map, and then spreading out the rest of your supports, that you get more Republicans or more Democrats in the legislature because of how you drew the lines on the map. That's gerrymandering. And finally, no foreign interference, meaning you can't have cheating going on. You can't have foreign governments hacking elections or spending billions of dollars on advertising to push the people in one direction or another, right? Our elections are supposed to be the will of the American people, what we decide based on our own kind of public conversation with each other and our friends and our families and our colleagues and that sort of thing. It's not supposed to be that we're being manipulated from outside the country. Okay, number 3, good elections are competitive, meaning that we don't just give up one state or county or part of the country to a political party. So there's got to be a real chance for the party to lose political power, a real chance for a major party to lose votes to a third party, right? So that there's this incentive, this play between the major parties and the third parties to update their platform and to reflect the will of their constituents, the will of their voters, and that if people really change their opinions, and let's say in this year's an election year. Let's say everyone says, hey, you know what? We don't really want Donald Trump as president anymore. We're not so keen on the Republicans. There has to be a chance that the Republicans actually lose power and that someone else steps into that role at every level: presidency, state governors, legislators. If it's not, let's say there's a place where the Democrats just don't even run candidates anymore. It's just completely Republican held. Then that's no longer competitive. The voters no longer have a choice. They might individually have the freedom to still run for office, but they have no sort of support. They haven't created a political party. It just means that there's less choice, and less choice is always a bad thing.